So this is week 61 of our weekly discussions. And this week's a bit different than other weeks because we're talking about, instead of effective giving, we're talking about effective gifting. And this is something that's a bit late for the giving season for the holidays, but I think it's good to know going forward. And I certainly am interested in doing this better. I have a lot to learn. I'd love to hear from you all in the discussion rooms afterwards. But here's just like 10 minutes of what I've learned digging into this a bit deeper this week and reading some other forum posts about this. So just a quick recap. Effective altruism is an idea in a community focused on using evidence and careful reasoning to figure out the very best ways to improve the world and then to act on that basis. We are the Christian group of effective altruists. We're a global community. We are in many different countries and places. On this call, I think there's at least three countries or so, 3 or 4 countries. And we want to learn from EA and put it into action and spread this to other Christians as well. So I want to start out this introduction with this question. What is the best gift you ever remember receiving? Maybe it was a Christmas gift when you were a kid, or maybe it was a surprise gift from your partner or from an old friend. Take a second to think back on how you felt and how you still feel when you think about that, and what went into making that gift. That's a bit of what I want to do here over the next 10 minutes, is think about how we can replicate this experience for other people and really bring joy and happiness to other people in this form of altruism. And to get some help here, I recruited Reddit, and there was a post on Reddit recently asking a very similar question. I scanned through probably 150 comments or so, and I compiled a list of what some of the answers were. So about 25% of the answers had to do with some gift that was good because it was just a thing that somebody really liked. It was some kind of stuff. And stuff like a bed. One person mentioned a wallet. They just really needed a wallet, and somebody gave them a wallet at the best time, just simple and sweet. Somebody mentioned a hoodie that they love. It was a pretty funny post. They talked about being able to fit all their stuff plus their pet guinea pig in their hoodie. Somebody mentioned a Nintendo DS, which is something that I got a gift when I was, how old was I then? Maybe 12, 11. And I'm sure that brought them a lot of joy, brought me a lot of joy too, especially all those Pokemon games. But not all the gifts were gifts of stuff. There were also a lot of gifts that had to do with something being handmade or done from scratch, kind of a DIY sort of thing. A lot of these were gifts like letters that somebody sent or wrote really carefully, or a poem, or some kind of thing that somebody put together by hand. Like there's an example of a scrapbook that somebody made for somebody else, where each post or each page in the scrapbook was some kind of photo and a note from a very close friend. And a mother had put this together for her son, and the son in the Reddit comment mentioned that he still cries when he reads through it. Just a very touching thing. Another example of this kind of handmade gift was a pair of pants that somebody made for somebody else. Apparently you can stitch together pants with, I don't know what you use, yarn. I'm not good at this, but apparently they made some really BA pair of pants using a few different materials, and it probably looks something like this, but really creative and unique. And I can see why people appreciate that level of thoughtfulness. Real quick, I want to mention some other domains of gifts or other types of gifts. Something like 1 in 6 or 15% of the gifts had something to do with somebody's childhood. It was either a gift that was really powerfully that they remember from their own childhood, like a childhood memory, or some kind of gift that drew on themes from when they were much younger in life. Something like a gift that symbolized an experience that two people had shared like 30 years ago, and the gift just brought them back to that old memory. So that's a really powerful, another really powerful type of gift that was mentioned. An example of this was just a game that a colleague gave to another colleague after they talked about it at work for a long time and talked about, their joys of playing this Legend of Zelda video game back 20, 30 years ago. And then all of a sudden for Christmas, one of them gave the other this gift, and it was really, really touching. Surprising to me, something like 1 in 10 comments had to do with a puppy. People really appreciate getting dogs as a gift. My mom always told me growing up, don't get a dog as a gift. I think that was her way of telling me, you're a kid and dogs are a lot of responsibility, so don't gift something like that lightly. But hey, if you know the person well enough to know they need a dog and then give them a dog, I'm sure that's a great gift. Yes. So a quick roadmap for the rest of the time we're talking here, for the next 5 minutes. I want to talk about just some broad ideas for effective gifting. And then I want to consider what impartiality might have to say about this. So the first point of effective gifting seems to be something like, it's about them. This is a point that's common in effective altruism in general, right? Our giving is not about us. It's not about what gives us warm fuzzies. It's about what gives them warm fuzzies. And any parent who's giving good gifts to their children for Christmas knows that something like these, the smiles on these children's faces is much more important than whether or not the parent happens to like playing with these catwalkers or what are these called? AT units. The point of a gift is about the receiver. So next time you give, next time I give, I'm going to try to stop and think, what makes this person really happy and joyful? And I'm also going to consider if this person has been struggling with anything lately. One of the categories here in the gifts that people mentioned was hard times. A lot of people mentioned that the gifts they received when they were in a very hard place in life had an especially profound meaning for them. One example that sticks out in my mind, 2 examples. One is something that somebody posted in our forum just yesterday about how at the beginning of COVID, when they moved to a new area, they remember feeling really lonely and like they didn't know many people. And they knew other people must have felt that way too. So what this person did along with their partner was they wrote notes and made little gift bags for like 40 different people who lived in their apartment. And they sent those all out at the beginning of a lockdown. And even today, like 2 years later, people still thank them and tell them how beautiful and wonderful of a gift that was. Another example of a hard time gift was that I read, which is actually really interesting, was when somebody was in the hospital and they were having some kind of operation that stopped them from being able to eat solid food. So one of their friends came into the hospital with a 2-gallon jug of Jello, like the gelatin Jello, and a massive dog treat inside the middle because just a massive pile of Jello looked kind of silly, so they had to stick something in there. But it's apparently very, very funny and a really wonderful thing to happen to you if you're stuck in the hospital and have nothing better to look forward to. Another thing you can stop and think about for your next gift is there anything meaningful I could say to this person? Or maybe something meaningful that other people could say to this person? I think back on the scrapbook example, right? That's a good idea of a gift. Why not make a scrapbook for a close friend or family member and pool in contributions from other people in their lives who you know have meaningful things to say? And this enters into this whole realm of DIY projects that you could do for somebody. I'm not super creative in this way, but many other people have been. So you can easily find stuff like this from Lifehacker or from some other thing online. One point I want to raise is maybe consider anonymous gifts, right? This isn't something I hear people talk about, but if what we're really concerned about is making somebody else really happy and joyful and not ourselves per se, then maybe we should try to update our gifts, all things equal, to being more anonymous. Maybe these gifts are kind of more neglected because people are often pursuing showy forms of generosity, as C.S. Lewis points out. People are really pursuing gift giving that brings them a lot of attention. So maybe if we care about helping other people and not necessarily caring for ourselves first and foremost with our gift giving, doing something like leaving somebody a surprise in their mailbox, or even give directly, which is an anonymous thing. Maybe these anonymous gift givings could play a bigger role in our giving in the future. And then also we all consider we all consider constraints when we're giving. There's a question of, well, who do I give gifts to this season? I remember it, even back in college, which for me was just several months ago. All these people, you're surrounded by hundreds of people your age who you have some social connection to. And there's this question, who do I give gifts to? Who do I just kind of pretend like I forgot to give them a gift this Christmas? Who do I not, who do I not get a gift for? This kind of dilemma is real, and you don't have infinite time or money. So maybe there are ways that you can give gifts really efficiently and meaningfully to many people. A friend of mine found these lint truffle gifts where you get two of what I think are the best chocolates in the world, and in this beautiful, elegant little package. And this friend wrote a message on each little chocolate that she gave to each of her friends. And I thought this was just a super smart idea from an effective gift giving perspective. And then one thing we can talk about in the breakout rooms is this idea of impartiality. We talk a lot in EA about how a lot of people are concerned with just giving gifts to friends and family. And well, if we live in a first world country, it's very likely that the most impactful gifts we can give are going to be to effective charities that help people in lower middle income countries, people we don't know. So how do we balance devotion to our family and our friends with concern for all people and our responsibility to help the poor that's not right in front of us, but maybe in desperate need 3,000 miles away? And how do we not go overboard with gifting with our friends and family, but still resist a temptation to be selfish and a temptation to be cold? So here are some questions. I'll post them in the chat in a moment. But I'd love to hear what your earliest memory of giving is. That could be a memory where you gave something. That could also be a memory where you received something. I'd love to hear what solidified that theme in your life. What experience is attached to that for you? Another thing you could talk about is an example of the best gift you ever received. And what was it about that gift that really made it great? You could talk about whether you think you should, all else equal, just spend more on gifting than you currently do, more money, more time. Or maybe you should spend less. Maybe this is an area of your life where you are just killing it and you could really spend more effort giving to people you don't know in an effective giving kind of way. You can also talk about the next gift you're planning to give to somebody. Maybe you could brainstorm about that and how to do that well. Yeah. And then you can talk about this question of impartiality. Do you perceive in your life any competition between gifting to family and friends and donating to strangers?